my name is Linda Carabaris, and welcome to my kitchen. And what have we got today? Oh, acorn squash. Lots of good health benefits to acorn squash. And here to help me talk about acorn squash and prepare a southwestern stuffed acorn is Kristina Spellman, registered dietitian.
Hello.
Hi, Kristina. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And why don't you tell us about your background? You're a registered dietitian.
Yep, I'm a registered dietitian. I work at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston. I currently work in research, and I've worked throughout the field in many different areas. And I also own a consulting business here in the area called 7 Day Nutrition. I'm excited to be here to talk about the health benefits of food and help you prepare a couple of recipes.
Well, thank you very much. So why don't we get started? And what I'm going to do, I'll let you talk about the nutritional benefits of acorn squash. And if people don't know what it is, we can, we can show them how it looks cut open, and you can tell them a little bit about the benefits while I start our first dish, the southwestern stuffed acorn squash.
How does that great. That sounds perfect. And like Linda said, this is sort of something that you may not be familiar with. You're looking at it thinking, what is that? And she's right, this is that acorn squash. And you can see the beautiful green colors, the orange. What's unique about this is that if you look inside, you'll see that you've got this beautiful color. And what I was telling you earlier was that color is important. You want to think about eating the rainbow when you work with foods.
Okay.
Each color brings a different phytonutrient or healthy nutrient to the table. So
is that a phytonutrient?
Yes.
So viewers know what a phytonutrient is?
Sure. Phytonutrient, very similar to what we call our antioxidants. They work within the body to prevent disease. So when you're looking at all of these different colors, remember they each bring with it different phytonutrients and different antioxidants beneficial for disease prevention.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah. Specifically, the acorn squash is high in vitamin A, found in the form beta-carotene.
Okay, great. So any kind of orange vegetable too, like carrots would have the beta-carotene also, correct?
Exactly, you're right. That's the color and that's what it brings. Vitamin A, which is beneficial for our eyes and our vision health, specifically night vision.
Okay, Kristina, I'm just going to add right to this, I put a couple tablespoons of olive oil, which again, very good for you, right? Olive oil.
Yep, a nice healthy fat.
And adding an onion, chopped onion. And I'm also going to add some chopped red pepper.
Beautiful.
And again, we're going to have a nice colorful dish when we're done.
Exactly. So. And like you said, that olive oil brings with it what's called monounsaturated fats, healthy fats, heart healthy specifically.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yep. That we all need a little bit more heart healthy today, don't we?
We do.
Okay, I'm just going to put the cover on this and let it soften 3 to 5 minutes. And we're going to, as I said earlier, make stuffed squash. So what I have done earlier was cut this open, cut each of the 3 of them open. I scooped out the seeds. I took a little bit of olive oil, rubbed it in the cavity and around the edges, placed it upside down on a parchment covered baking sheet, and we're baking that now in the oven at 375 degrees for about 45 minutes or until the squash gets soft.
Great.
All right, so now the vegetables have softened 3 to 5 minutes, Kristina, so we have some nice
beautiful
red bell pepper in there and onion, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add garlic.
Very nice. The garlic and the acorn squash, in fact, both have properties that fight against inflammation, which is really nice for anyone who's dealing with any sort of chronic pain or arthritis, especially as we move into the winter months.
Oh, terrific. Okay, good to know, good to know. I love all this nutrition stuff, you know. You are what you eat, am I right?
You're right, you're right. That's a great motto to live by.
Now here I've done the garlic about 30 seconds, and then we're going to add some spice. Now what we're doing here is actually toasting the spice, so we're only going to let this go about 30 seconds. So I'm adding a tablespoon of chili powder, and I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. So you might want to talk a little bit about the spices, and then after this, after 30 seconds, I'm going to add the tomatoes. So,
Beautiful.
So what can you tell us about the spices?
Spices, I love cooking with spices because what you do is you cut down considerably on the amount of fat within your recipe, but you still get that flavor. What we find is that the more flavor a recipe has, the more satisfied you are with eating less, which ultimately helps you control your weight. So using spices is definitely beneficial for the waistline as well.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for ways to keep my waistline.
Exactly, exactly. And then the red color, like you said, with the not only the pepper, but mostly here with the tomatoes, you're getting what's called lycopene. Again, very similar to the vitamin A, lycopene is beneficial for your eyes and protecting your vision. Specifically protecting against macular degeneration. So, and it just looks beautiful.
Wow.
You can't beat it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing here now. I'm adding the tomatoes. I've toasted the spices, which give it even more flavor. And I learned that when I was in cooking school, that when there's a little bit of oil and you put the spices in when the pan's still kind of dry, it actually toasts them and makes them a little bit more flavorful.
That's great.
So now I've added about 2/3 of the tomatoes, and I'm going to also add a half teaspoon of kosher salt. Now I just started using the kosher salt, and what I found out was because the granules are larger, you're actually getting less sodium per teaspoon than regular iodized salt. So for cooking, should be using kosher salt.
And that's great because I have people coming into me asking for ways to reduce their sodium intake, specifically because they have some issues with blood pressure.
Okay.
So that's a great tip. And this recipe total only has about 482 milligrams of sodium, which is really a nice level. Your whole day's intake should be no more than about 23 to 2,400 milligrams all day. If you flip over the label on some foods, you'll notice that they may come pretty close to that total day intake. So what's nice about this recipe is that it's within normal limits, and it's nice and low on that sodium.
Good.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed making this. So now what we're doing is I'm going to let those tomatoes break down.
Great.
Probably take about 5 to 10 minutes just when they start to break down, and then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients, and we'll pretty much be done. We'll be ready to stuff the squash.
Great.
All right, Kristina, it looks like those are broken down just enough. You don't want to turn it to complete mush. So
exactly.
That's why I reserved some of the tomatoes, because personally this is what I like to do. At this point, we actually want to talk a little bit about the well, let me turn that off for right now, okay, so that doesn't cook anymore.
Delicious.
Thank you. I've got some nice turkey sausage, and this is pre-cooked. I just like using the pre-cooked because you know, it just saves one stage and it's lower in fat. Personally, I like using this brand, although there are a lot of other brands out on the market, and it's no MSG added, low fat, I think 7 grams of fat per link. So this whole dish we're only going to use 2 cut up links. And a lot of times this is on sale so you can buy it and freeze it. And I know you like using the turkey sausage also, correct?
I do, and you're right. It's specifically related to that fat, because when we use animal protein, we get mostly saturated fat, which tends to be the fat that clogs our arteries. So what we're looking to do is find ways to reduce our fat throughout our recipes. This, like she said, is a great way to do that. It's only got about 2 grams of that saturated fat. And when you look at a label, you really want to focus on getting 3 grams of saturated fat or less. So I think it's a great substitution that you're using here.
And I'm also going to add black beans, and I know there are a lot of benefits to using beans. Is that correct?
Exactly, because that's one of those sources of vegetable protein. So you're getting a little bit of protein there, but you're also getting fiber. Just like I talked about earlier with using spices to increase the flavor of your dish, fiber helps you increase the volume of your dish, essentially. What that does is helps you feel full, helps you feel satisfied without breaking the calorie bank. So whenever you can add beans for extra fiber, do it.
Great. So let me add the rest of our turkey, and then I'm going to add those beans. And I do like cooking a lot with beans. And as you can hear, our timer's going off, and I'm going to take out our butternut squash.
Perfect.
So let me remove that from the oven first, and then we'll continue cooking, finishing the dish.
You look beautiful.
Shut off my timer. Okay.
The other thing, when we were talking a little bit about the sodium content, if you've got beans and if they're canned, one way to reduce the sodium down is to actually rinse the beans before you use them.
Which is what I did. Yes,
Perfect.
thank you for pointing that out.
Perfect.
So actually, we've added our pre-cooked turkey and the beans, and at this point, it's pretty much done. All I'm doing right now is heating this so that the beans and the turkey get hot, and now I'm going to add the rest of the tomatoes. And I like to do that because I'm just going to warm the tomatoes too, because you'll see in the stuffed squash, I just like to keep some of them with that nice bright red color and just a little bit different texture and a little fresh taste. So that's pretty much a little trick of mine that I like to do when
great.
something's calling for tomatoes, or if I'm doing a stir fry. With vegetables, I always add like these nice cherry or grape tomatoes last sliced up, just to kind of warm them, just till they start to break down a little, and done.
That's
Keeps
great.
a nice bright red color, so.
It also keeps the nutrients intact oftentimes too. When we
Oh.
cook or we bring different vegetables to high heats, we have a tendency to sort of break down some of those nutrients. So because you're doing that nice strategy, you're actually retaining some additional nutrients in these foods. So that's great.
Now see, now that's a benefit I didn't know about. I did it for
Exactly.
color and appearance, so.
Exactly. It's looking
All right.
good.
So that's done, Kristina. So why don't I bring our squash over here, and we'll show viewers what that looks like when it's nicely roasted in the oven and ready to stuff these and finish them off.
Great.
All right, we've got our beautiful baked acorn squash out of the oven, Kristina, and I forgot to mention that I like a little hot sauce, and I think for anything Southwestern or Mexican, I'm going to just add a few sprinkles in our pan.
Delicious.
And that'll add even more flavor, right?
Exactly.
And I just want to show the viewers this. I love this roasting method, by the way, on the acorn squash, because again, you just oil it, turn it upside down on the sheet, 45 minutes, and look at this. Look at how beautiful.
And
you
that's
get a
from
nice,
the olive oil rim?
yes,
Okay.
nice caramelized flavor, and of course the sugars coming out of the pumpkin also, or squash, give it that nice brown edge, and that to me makes it more flavorful. So I'm just going to
beautiful.
start stuffing these. I'll let you finish them with a little bit of cheese, and this
Okay.
was just a Mexican cheese blend that I purchased at the market, but if you grate your own, you grate your own, whatever kind of cheese you want to use, but some of the blends today are great. So
Wonderful.
why don't I start stuffing these?
great.
And
And you can make this recipe vegetarian as well, simply by taking out the sausage component and replacing it with a vegetarian sausage.
and there are
Yeah.
some great ones out there. I use one too that I think is fantastic. And you know what? If you didn't tell people, they
Yeah.
wouldn't even know.
They
Trust me, because
don't.
I've done it a lot. And the vegetarian sausage today is excellent quality.
It's delicious, and again, lowering that saturated fat, that artery clogging fat. And you can also make this vegan too by using a soy cheese instead. So that's another great
Good point.
alternative. And then, of course, for most of us, if we're kind of rushing home, we're trying to get a healthy dinner on the table for our family's fast, or just need something quick, you can even freeze these, I imagine.
Yeah, they freeze beautifully. I've made this recipe so many times. It's
Yeah.
so versatile.
That's
And you
great.
know, any leftovers during the week, think about this too. You have rice or whatever. You just mix up, you know, any kind of chopped vegetables, rice, and stuff them in these shells. So that's another use for this acorn squash recipe.
Exactly.
Oh, and here I just wanted to show, see how when I throw in those last tomatoes without
Yeah.
cooking them down, it gives that beautiful
It's
color,
nice.
and it looks pretty.
It
And
really does.
all right, so what we're going to do, we're just going to finish the rest of these. We're going to put a little
Add
bit
a
of
little
cheese on
cheese.
top. The other, we use low-fat cheese if you want, right?
Exactly. Yep. That's another great way. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's perfect. Just a little to
Okay.
hold it in.
Yep.
Pop these back in the oven, 5-10 minutes to melt the cheese, and we're done. These are
Voila.
done. And next, we're going to mise en place, put everything together for our quinoa salad with a lemon vinaigrette. And quinoa, you'll have to wait a couple minutes for that one. Quinoa. That's a pretty cool name.
Yeah.
But Kristina, you can talk about the health benefits and what it is. And
Exactly. I mean, many people don't know much about it. You know, I actually, in fact, just recently started using it myself.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's Quinoa, but you do pronounce it quinoa. So, and you find this grain or this seed in the health food section of your local grocery store, or you found some at a health food store that was local as well.
That's right. We have a few good health food stores around here, and you'll pay half the amount of money than you will in a supermarket. So if you're near a health food store, and not only that, the benefit of that is you can get the amount you want. So if you don't want to buy a 1 pound package, then you can just get a ½ pound or whatever amount you need for the recipe.
That's great. And so that's kind of a quick tip there in its use. Now, in terms of its nutrition, it is unlike any other grain because it's actually high in protein. It contains all of what we would call the essential amino acids. Sounds really fancy, but amino acids are basically the building blocks of protein. They help us build and repair our muscle tissues within our body. Now, quinoa is unique, again, as a grain because most grains don't contain all of those amino acids. You generally, if you have like a rice or even a pasta, to make it a complete protein, you have to add another source of protein. We call it complementary source, like a meat, for example, or even a bean, just to sort of, again, add in additional protein. Quinoa is great because you get all that protein just from that one food alone.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, I remember when I first learned of it a couple years ago, and it is pretty packed with nutrients and all.
It is.
Yeah. So I just, this is what it looks like in its dry form. A little different looking.
Yeah, and again, that protein is essential not only for rebuilding your muscles, but also for, like we talked about earlier, really feeling full and being able to go between meals without getting over hungry. It's also important too because it's broken down a little bit slower than some other grains. That's great for people who have blood control issues, maybe if they have diabetes. This is broken down more slowly and prevents really those ups and downs of their blood sugars throughout the day.
Great, good.
Yeah.
Now here's something else that we're going to introduce viewers to. Watercress. Now watercress comes like this in the supermarket. It's in the salad section and it is placed in water, and this is how I stored it in my refrigerator when I purchased it. So you just get a little container and put some water. And I know that watercress is a little bit peppery flavored, so if you want to add a nice green to your salads, or this particular one we're making with both the quinoa and the watercress today, it's going to load it up with nice nutrients. And Kristina, you can tell us about the benefits of a nice green like watercress.
Sure. As we discussed earlier, the more color the better because you're actually getting different antioxidants and different phytochemicals. And again, big fancy words, but to break it down nice and simply for you, what they do is they go throughout the body and they fight against cancer-causing free radicals. So they fight these free radicals before they're able to cause tissue and cell damage. So get a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, and most importantly, colors on your
Right,
plate.
and that's what I always try and do too, don't I, viewers? I'm always emphasizing like the color in the foods because it makes you want to eat the food. So.
Exactly, it's beautiful to look at. And then with our watercress, it specifically brings in a high amount of vitamin C as well as iron. Iron is essential because it actually helps oxygen transport throughout your body. And if you're low in iron, or if you have what's called anemia, you actually want to combine foods that have vitamin C with your iron supplement or your high iron food. Watercress is great because it has both.
Okay.
The reason you want to combine is vitamin C helps iron be absorbed into the body faster and more efficiently. So it's an actual powerhouse for anyone who has any anemia issues.
Okay, great.
Like you said, it just looks beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. And like arugula too. I use arugula a lot too. It's spicy and peppery. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to roughly chop the watercress. And then here's my I previously cooked the quinoa, and all I did, this amount right here, Kristina, all that was 1 cup of dried quinoa. I put in 1.5 cups of water, simmered it 12 to 15 minutes. That's it, leave the cover on, done, and it quadruples almost in volume. So I've got about 3.5 cups of quinoa here. So this is what it looks like once it's been cooked. And then we're going to add all these beautiful ingredients to it. And I also, this is a nice simple vinaigrette that I created last night. Again, a lot of these steps you can do in advance. So I took some freshly squeezed lemon juice, added some salt, put in some olive oil, and whisked it together. And I'm just going to whisk it one more time before we add it today.
Perfect.
So
that's nice and fresh.
Yes, I love the fresh lemon juice, and that's another good tip, isn't it, to season any kind of a salad. You're not adding any calories, but you're adding a lot of flavor, correct, with the lemon juice.
Exactly, that's really the way to go. The more flavor in your dishes, again, the more satisfied you are, and you're actually more apt to sort of push away from the table, feel satisfied because you're getting all that flavor. So not a lot of fat, not a lot of calories, but flavor is important.
Oh, I love using lemon juice. I have my scrap bowl here, and I don't know whether I forgot to mention, but mise en place, which is one of my buzzwords I use all the time. Everything in order, everything out there, so you're ready to just put things together or to cook like we did previously.
Exactly.
So that's all you do. The watercress has a few stems on the end, so I just kind of roughly chop maybe 2/3 of it, okay?
Yep.
And I'm going to have you mix this one in. I'm going to add the ingredients.
Great.
So a spoon. And let me tell you, I've made this before. This will last 4 or 5 days, no problem, in the refrigerator.
That's great.
Okay? So no problem at all. And then how you refreshen this, more lemon juice, and if you wish, a little bit more olive oil. So
that's great. More heart-healthy benefits there with that olive oil. And like you said, it's always nice to have something that you've prepped on the weekend or you have available to you throughout the week. So
and I was really surprised how long this lasted.
That's great.
And then we're adding some diced red pepper. Now, what about the benefits of the red pepper?
The red pepper, again, bringing that beautiful color red. We get certain antioxidants, phytochemicals, one of which, again, like tomatoes, you get that lycopene, beneficial for your eyes. And what's interesting, too, is sometimes people will ask me, will you get different benefits from a red versus an orange or a green pepper? And that's the truth. You get the same nutrient content from, again, colors. It's really all about the color. A red pepper will bring you different nutrients than an orange, a yellow, or a green. So mix it up and really get variety in there.
Great point. Yeah, that's great. And then I've got cucumbers. Again, very low fat, high water content.
Yep.
So.
Add some crunch, you know.
And I use the English cucumbers because you don't have to peel them.
I love
That's
that.
what I love about that. And you can even leave, the seeds are tiny, you can even leave them in, or you can take the seeds out. I took the seeds out on this because I wanted to keep it drier so the quinoa would really mix in there well. Here we go again with what, the beta carotene?
Exactly, you're a fast learner.
All I did was grate the carrots.
Beautiful. And this really seems like it could be a dish for all seasons.
Oh yeah, oh geez, yeah, I'd make that year round.
Yeah.
And let me just rinse my board off, Kristina, because I'm going to demo. Our next ingredient is radishes. Radishes. And I just started using these recently. And I think, for the most part, these don't really have much of a health benefit other than the crunch. It adds, again, nice color and crunch.
Exactly.
So I'm going to just show you how to put, you see I made matchsticks last night with the radish.
Oh, beautiful.
So I'm going to dump those in there, and then I will just, as you mix that, I will demonstrate how to, to make the matchsticks. Just nice little cuts in a large radish like this. And growing up I remember hot radishes. I don't know whether you can still get them, but these are more for the crunch. But I'm going to try and see if I get those spicy ones that they have.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, those add a lot of flavor.
So you just stack the 3, you take the ovals, put 3 on top of one another, 3 or 4, and then that's it.
great.
Just nice and slow, keep them together. Cut them maybe 1/8 of an inch.
And
That's
again, it just adds a different color, a different look to this dish. It's really nice. And it's unique. It kind of matches the uniqueness of the quinoa itself.
Yeah, that's true. Finish this. And then we're going to add our vinaigrette, our lemon vinaigrette, and we're done. Believe it or not, we're ready to sit down, have our stuffed acorn squash and a nice quinoa salad on the side.
I love it. Beautiful comfort foods. Again, as we sort of move into these cold winter months, we have a tendency to want to reach for comfort foods, which tend to be high in calories, high in fat usually. You've come up with some really nice ways to get comfort on the table without adding all of those negative fats and whatnot. This is really a great way to do it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And it tastes good.
All right. So
all right, beautiful.
I'll get our plates ready and we'll plate it.
All right.
Well, looks like we're ready to sit down and have a nice lunch, Kristina. And I thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. I mean, I think what this shows your viewers is that you can eat well, eat a balanced diet, and it can look beautiful too. So eating for optimum health is wonderful.
Terrific. Thanks for all the great nutritional advice.
Anytime.
Okay, thank you. Let's dig in.
I am ready.